So I think it's exciting finally with many industries finally understanding what geospatial can do. We are definitely collaborating, yes, but it's more, I feel, sort of organic collaboration. We're not being deliberate, intentional, right, about the collaboration. Instead of saying, what can we do and let's do it, we actually took a step back and said, how can we actually collaborate on finding the problem that we should solve together? We're trying to build collaborations to reduce the time to market of these ideas, to create these feedback loops and communities for the researchers and industry to be together and talk to the customer.
Hello and welcome to WGIC, the World Geospatial Industry Council. Our guest today is Nadine Alameh, Executive Director, Taylor Geospatial Institute. Nadine, thank you so much for this time. Welcome to WGIC podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Nadine, you have been such a multifaceted person, a globally recognized geospatial professional with you're a tech savvy person, you're business savvy, and you have a fair amount of experience in the working with the academic sector as well. And I'm very fortunate to have this conversation with you that can span all these aspects of geospatial industry.
Sounds good to me. Let's do it.
Great. So, my first question to you, Nadeem. Technology growth has accelerated since the turn of the century and continues its exponential strides, right? As someone practicing in this industry for several years and with such a well-rounded experience in industry, government, and academia, what's your perspective in terms of these shifts in the technology industry in general and geospatial in particular?
So I think I can summarize it by it's so exciting because in so many ways, what's happening today with everything that you've said is what we have in the geospatial sector have been envisioning years and years ago, like 20, 30 years ago. Think about it, having more Earth observation data from not just government, but commercial sources, being able to do things on the cloud, making things easier and scalable and accessible. We've got digital twins now at urban scale, you could even say at Earth scale. And I'm sure we're going to talk about this AI or Geo AI to sift through the data and the patterns and the simulations. So even filling in the blanks with generative AI. So I think it's exciting because this is a time of convergence of all of these things with geospatial, and finally with many industries finally understanding what geospatial can do. So I think, again, it's exciting, and I think we're finally at a point where we can show the world what we have known in the geospatial industry, but now everybody can see it.
Fantastic. You rightly said, Nadine, that it's a time of convergence and finally geospatial is being recognized by many of the industries as well. On that note, what do you see as the most important societal and economic benefits of advancing geospatial technologies?
So I've been saying this for years. It's not new. Disaster preparedness, disaster response, disaster mitigation, disaster resilience, whatever you want to call it, right? And I think at least we can't argue that disasters are increasing in frequency, right? I mean, you've got all the statistics. And I think finally we have so many examples of data being available, but not being fully used or accessible at the right time or by the right user or being integrated in time to make decisions. So the example for me, the biggest societal benefit, the biggest economic benefit is lives, saving
Yes.
lives via disaster mitigation preparedness.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for that enumeration. You briefly touched upon the convergence of geospatial with advanced technologies such as AI, generative AI, spatial computing, edge computing, and a number of emerging technologies. What do you believe are the most exciting innovations currently shaping geospatial technology and industry with these convergence?
You mentioned, a career in geospatial and, making geospatial information more accessible, relatable, useful, right? Um, it's hard to find the one innovation, but like I think of examples of what, for example, LuxCarta is doing, and they're AI related because they take you to the next level. So having an AI assistant, right, that can generate interactive and high precision maps for you, not the non-geospatial specialist, right? Helping industries move faster, smarter. I take an example, innovation like what Dante.ai, again, another AI example where they're integrating geospatial data with other data. So the innovation is the multimodal data integration and AI on top to create a disaster response platform. And then I always have to remind myself, because we all get caught in it's like, what is the innovation? What is the innovation? And it's sometimes not just the technology innovation, but the application of a technology or the conversions of these technologies, right? I was at an event recently and I met the CEO and founder, for example, of Environix Analytics. So these are examples of innovative companies. And they can tell you, right, how many people passed by Walmart on the way to Costco, right? So this is, again, the innovation is the ability to do things quickly, right? Reaching a level where geospatial can be used quickly and at scale. And I can talk for hours about this innovation part, but anything, you can see it bubbling right now. Everybody trying to build the chat GPT of Earth, right? How do we talk to the Earth and actually respond, get decisions, hints, insights? It's all, it's technical and the application. It's, again, I say what I said at the beginning. It's just exciting that we're at this point in time.
Certainly exciting times for geospatial industry. On that note, as a corollary, my question to you is, yes, addressing some of the world's complex problems requires companies to partner with other technology players as well. Is the core geospatial industry talking to each other and collaborating enough to create solutions the world needs? What, according to you, is happening in the industry? Is there something missing, or what's your prescription for the industry?
I think when you ask the question like this, to me, the word that gets highlighted in my head is enough, right?
Yes.
And I said it recently at the UN GGIM meeting. So we are definitely collaborating, yes, but it's more, I feel, sort of organic collaboration, right?
Yeah.
We do our thing and you do your thing, and when we come together, something better
Yeah.
happens. But we're
Yes.
not being um, deliberate, intentional, right, about the collaborations. And I've been saying it for years, investing in collaboration. So I don't think, no, we're not collaborating enough. And we're still in this phase, and you can see it, where there are many organizations, whether government or industry or academia or research, that are still trying to do everything versus breaking the problem into little pieces and then putting a puzzle together. And I see a lot of reinventing the wheel, right?
Okay.
So I think we're getting there because we're collaborative in nature, but there's more deliberate and a better investment in collaboration that can take us to the next level.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
so any ideas in terms of how these three pillars of the industry can come together, and in terms of collaboration, any example or any situation that comes to your mind?
The collaboration across government, industry, academia, research, nonprofit, right?
Hmm.
Um, yes, I think the answer is we can. Um, uh, we have this amazing opportunity in time because we have big problems, right? When I talk about disasters or climate resilience or people mobility and so on, I see a big gap now at the Taylor Geospatial Institute, for example. When I look at academic research, like you can see the gap. You can see the gap between the research community and the user. And I think if you go to a geospatial conference these days, there you'll find at least one talk about not about geospatial at all, but about how do we listen to the user and how do we work with them on a solution. And it's from that problem where we define what data do you need, what collaborators do you need, and often we come to it as I'm trying to sell something, or here's an amazing innovation, something where I go back to being more deliberate to reduce the time and the barriers
Yeah.
for collaborating and getting from research and ideas to commercialization.
Yeah. On that note, you are also leading the Taylor Geospatial Institute. And how is the institute facilitating such partnerships or collaboration to drive innovation so that we address the issues and challenges in the industry?
So what I try to do, and the emphasis is on try because the institute is new, and so it's like where you can explore, is
Yes.
start with collaboration in mind. So we have, for instance, an initiative on geospatial innovation for food security. And instead of saying, what can we do and let's do it, we actually took a step back and said, how can we actually collaborate on finding the problem that we should solve together? So it's even before the solution. And it's fascinating to work and collaborate with experts around the world. So we're coming up with, how do we collaborate to improve the what is it, like the measurement and the monitoring of the chemicals in the soil through the agriculture supply chain, or how do we use geospatial and sensors and IoT, right, to optimize the distribution of food and reduce food waste. Um, uh, Another example that comes to mind that's interestingly related to also food and agriculture, because I like this question of what will we be eating in 10 years, 20 years, 50 years, given everything that's changing. And
Sure.
this collaboration on building a global data set with AI. So you're collaborating also with the machine, with the researchers, with the private sector. So we bring them in during the research part, right? Not after, not just to sell something, but they come in so that you can get a product or a data set to actually use it. So I take it as we're trying to build collaborations to reduce the time to market of these ideas, to create these feedback loops and communities for the researchers and industry to be together and talk to the customer, and anything that reduces the barrier, right? For anybody, for any collaborator. This is where open comes in, from open data to open standards to open source, etc., etc.
Okay, great. So, collaboration is one important issue that we need to address in the geospatial industry. And the second most important aspect, which I feel is the workforce gap the industry is experiencing, right? A shortage of experienced and workforce or lack of appropriate skills. What is your perspective on the current state of workforce in this field?
What's my perspective? I hear a lot about it. Like, seriously, you go
Sure.
any event, it's highlighted as one of the issues and the challenges. Um, and I think it's partly because of this convergence, right? This moment in time when you ask yourself, what are the skills? Is it data science? Is it analytics? Is it geography? Is it the domain? Is it like urban planning or transportation or AEC? Like, what
Exactly.
skills, right? We're talking about, and how do you prepare, people under this like sort of very wide umbrella that's called
Exactly.
geospatial? So I think my perspective is, there's a rethinking, just like we're now rethinking how do we do research more collaboratively with industry. We need to rethink what does it mean to prepare the next generation for the jobs of the future.
True, true, 100%. So, so when you talk about the jobs of the future, has there been, well, yeah, in terms of your deliberations within Taylor Geospatial Institute or at the conferences that you meet, is there any a beginning to be beginning of consensus or an understanding as to what are the skills and the qualities that will be most critical for future leaders in the geospatial field?
So I think you'll get a different answer, per the person you ask, right? But as a like a tech geek, I would say data science,
Okay,
because it's eventually we have a lot of data, right?
true.
I would say AI, right?
Mhm.
Because that's the future, right? It's not a trend. It's just, it's part of us. So like workflows, and how do you determine those? How do you do the machine learning? How do you like trust, right, what the AI gives you, et cetera, et cetera. Like there's a whole field to me in terms of like the skill of the future. And to be honest with you, especially observing my kids, I mean, you got the 3D and the gaming, right, and all of that. Everything comes in, and communication. How do you actually communicate the value of geospatial, or communicate what you're trying to do to a non-technical audience? So maybe even like, is this marketing and communication as sort of like a focus area?
I think I would say, having worked in the geospatial industry for over 25 years, what you're saying is completely resonating with you. And especially because I'm a communications specialist, what you're saying is how do we communicate to non geospatial people about the significance and the value proposition we bring to the table. Fantastic. Thank you so much for enumerating that. And on that note, yeah, we have laid out the gaps, we have laid out what are the skills that would be required. But the next question is how can educational institutes and organizations such as the Taylor Geospatial Institute work with the industry to ensure students are equipped with these skills
Mm.
and for the future roles in the industry?
So this is I think it's a tough question, because the Taylor Geospatial Institute is a research institute. So it's a consortium that has universities and research organizations under it. So in a way, we're like 1, 2 steps, maybe 3 steps removed from students.
Yeah,
But what I've been saying is, we were just talking about collaboration and doing projects differently
true.
and lowering the barriers. So it's engaging the next generation in these projects. So sort of like by bringing in young professionals and young scientists into our projects, you're preparing the next generation. So not educating them or anything, but sort of like the hands-on learning, which I think WGIC, is big on. How do we match, right, the young professionals and the students with, um, you know, again, internships and jobs and scholarships and so much. So there's a lot that can be done in terms of capacity building and laying the foundation. That's not just education, right? It's engagement. Yeah.
True, true, true. On that note, would you like to cite any of the recent initiatives, projects, or collaborations within the institute?
So there's a lot happening in the ecosystem around the institute. So I see a lot, which are challenges. You need to prepare. I talked about the AI and the data science, etc. But there's a whole, thing about geography and geomatics, and so you see the preparation in that area, like the heart, the foundational science, right? So there's definitely groups focusing on that. I see groups focusing on like K to 12, the kids, like really, really the pipeline from the very, very beginning. Um, Anything to do. So what we're trying to do, for example, it's to put together some training on cloud geospatial, because again, it's the platform of anything going forward. Um, so I don't see an organized effort, right? In that, I see bits and pieces, and just trying to fill the gap. And maybe I'll take this as an opportunity to say there's usually not a lot of, again, there aren't like explicit programs. There's not big funding usually allocated for workforce development. And maybe that's what we can do as a geospatial industry. Instead of we're all doing bits and pieces and repeating in a way.
I also want to understand a bit about your perspective in terms of the future for geospatial industry in the next probably 5 years or so. And what are the key areas Taylor Geospatial Institute is focusing on to ensure it remains at the cutting edge of this evolution?
So there are, to me, three pieces, the way we did the strategy. We talked already about the people, right? There's a whole strategy on people in terms of, what's the profile of the future geospatial scientist and researcher, and what skills do they need, etc. There's the application, and in our case, we focused on food, right? What we're gonna eat, because we all have to eat, and it's everything. It's climate, and it's people and population dynamics and water, right? Everything is in there. So I think that's definitely a key area that we need to all, again, we cannot do it ourselves. Nobody can do it on their own. So we need, what steps we need to take is to collaborate on these humongous problems that are facing us. I'll mention as well, we're doing something with quantum. So this is also really looking ahead and figuring out not just how quantum can make things faster and more efficient for geospatial analysis and computing, but also what are the brand new problems that we can solve because we have this platform, and how that is going to change everything we're doing right now, because what's the impact on foundation models for AI, and how do you store the data, and so on. So I don't know if I'm answering the question, because there's people, there's technology, and there's domain. And then we can, from our conversation, on top of it is this collaboration on all fronts.
Rightly said. We spoke about how multidimensional this technology and this industry has become, and how multidimensional, varied, and diverse the skill set that would be required for the future. And what is that the next step in bringing about a total holistic dimension to this industry is to have a diverse workforce, I feel. So what are some of the steps do you think the geospatial industry can take to ensure that it is attracting and retaining a diverse workforce?
The number one, which I think we're starting to do and we should do more, is inspire, right?
Yeah.
We need to inspire the upcoming generation to be curious about, geospatial, and then to come and work with us. We need to cross pollinate, right? Because we said it's not like you go to the computer science department and you get everything that you need. I mean, and that's our challenge, right? It's like
True.
it's here and there. And so the whole curriculum, I think, is one of the steps. It's like, what is this curriculum? What are the certificates that we can make available for people, the inspiration so that they can even come? One of the steps that I think WGIC can help with is also what does the industry need, right? They do the projects, or government, right? Like the hiring, powers. What are they looking for? What kind of skills, so you can match the pipeline? And I think, and this is, I'm now very influenced by my kids, where they don't want to study in a book. They study by playing games, by doing, by tinkering. So providing more of these tools and self-learning, right, modules where you can, again, how do you lower the barrier, right, to get this diverse workforce? But I go back to full circle. We need to inspire by providing good examples of people too, right? The diversity, right? We have to show them, look, there are people like you, right, that are coming from all sorts of places and all sorts of career paths. It's I think it's I envy the new generation in a way, because they have a lot of choices. And with geospatial, I don't care what you have been majoring in, we have a place for you, right?
Wow. Fantastic. Yeah, whatever they're majoring in, we have a place for you. That's the call to action kind of a thing. So great talking to you, Nadine. We have touched the industry, we have touched the academia, we have touched so many aspects of the geospatial industry, and great insights from you as always. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Thank you. That was a pleasure. And thank you to WGIC for hosting these conversations and for inspiring and providing the examples. Really appreciate it.
Great then.